Okay, so you want to own a barbershop or a hair salon. Maybe you're a barber who's been renting a chair for years and you're tired of giving away half your money every week. Maybe you've watched other people open shops and thought, I could better hair than them. Why am I still working for somebody else? Or maybe you just like the idea of a real cash business, the kind where people walk in, sit down, pay you, and come back every 2 or 3 weeks like clockwork. On the surface, it looks simple. You get a space, put in some chairs, hang a couple of mirrors, turn on some music, and start cutting hair. Customers come in, you make them look good, they pay you, and life is sweet. But here's the part almost nobody talks about until it's too late. This is not a simple business. It's a high fixed cost service business. The margins look beautiful when you only look at the price of a haircut. But the moment you start paying rent, buying products, covering insurance, dealing with no-shows, and trying to keep good barbers from leaving, those beautiful margins start shrinking fast. In 2026, the U.S. barbershop industry is doing around $7 billion a year. Hair salons are even larger. People still need haircuts. The demand is real and consistent. Yet more than half of new shops struggle in the first 2 years. Some never recover. Others quietly close their doors after burning through their savings.
All right, let's talk about the first real number that stops most people. How much does it actually cost to open a barbershop or hair salon in 2026? This is where a lot of people get excited and then get shocked. I'm going to give you the real ranges, not the cleaned up numbers you see in motivational videos. For a barbershop, the full range sits between $15,000 on the very low end and about $175,000 on the high end. A realistic, clean 3 to 4 chair neighborhood shop that doesn't look cheap usually lands between $50,000 and $100,000. For a full hair salon, the numbers jump. You can still open something small for around $35,000 to $75,000, but a proper mid-size salon with 5 to 8 stations typically costs between $80,000 and $160,000. Premium or luxury salons can easily cross $250,000. Now, let's break down exactly where that money goes, because this is the part most people underestimate. The single biggest expense is almost always the build-out. You're not just renting an empty room. You need proper flooring that can handle water and hair, good lighting so the feeds and colors look right, plumbing for shampoo bowls, enough electrical outlets.
Now that you know what it costs to get the doors open, let's talk about one of the most important decisions you'll make. Are you opening a barbershop or a full hair salon? A lot of people use these words like they mean the same thing. They don't. The difference is bigger than most people realize. In cost, in daily operations, in profit, and in stress level. Let's start with the barbershop. A traditional barbershop is focused. The main services are haircuts, fades, lineups, beard trims, and maybe hot towel shaves. The average ticket is usually lower than a salon, but the clients come more often, every 2 to 3 weeks for many men. The space can be smaller. You need fewer shampoo bowls. Product inventory is lighter, and the overall setup is simpler. Because of that, monthly operating costs for a solid barbershop usually sit around $8,000. Profit margins tend to be better, often between 15% and 30% when the shop is run well, and most barbershops reach break-even faster, usually somewhere between 6 and 18 months. Now let's look at the full hair salon. A hair salon is a different animal. You're dealing with men's and women's services, longer appointments, color, highlights, treatments, blowouts, and sometimes even nails or skincare. Clients usually spend more per visit, but they don't come as often. The space needs to be larger. You need more stations, more shampoo bowls, more product, and usually more staff. The skill level required from your team is also higher, which means higher pay or higher booth rents. Monthly operating costs for a mid-size salon commonly land around $12,000 or more. Net profit margins are usually thinner, typically 8 to 20%, and it often takes longer to break even, sometimes 12 to 24 months. Here's the simple way to think about it. Barbershops are generally lower risk, lower cost, faster to profit.
All right. Now let's get into the part that actually decides whether this business makes you money or just keeps you busy. How the money really works once the doors are open. A lot of people only look at the price of a haircut and think the profit is obvious. I charge $40, the cut takes 30 minutes. That's great money. But that's only the surface. Let's start with pricing in 2026. The average men's haircut in most cities now sits between $35 and $45. In bigger cities or nicer shops, it's common to see $45 to $60 for a solid cut and beard. Add a hot towel shave or other extras, and the ticket can climb to $70 or more. Women's services in a salon are usually higher, especially with color. On paper, the margins look beautiful. The cost of the actual products used in a single haircut, shampoo, conditioner, a bit of product, is often under $2. That means the gross margin on the service itself is extremely high, sometimes 70% or more. But a chair doesn't make money just because the margin is high. A chair only makes money when it's occupied. Here's the reality of utilization. In a perfect world, a barber could do 10 to 12 cuts in an 8-hour day. In the real world, most shops average somewhere between 50 and 65% utilization. That means a lot of empty time. Gaps between clients, no-shows, late arrivals, and slow weekdays. A strong chair in a well-run shop might generate $60,000 to $90,000 a year. A weaker chair might only do $35,000 to $50,000. So when you have 4 chairs, the difference between average and excellent performance can easily be over $100,000 in annual revenue. Now let's talk about what happens after the client pays. Out of that $40 or $50 ticket, you still have to cover the barber's cut if you're paying commission, rent, utilities, products and supplies, booking software, card processing fees, insurance, marketing, and the little things that add up: towels, cleaning, equipment repairs. After all of that, the net profit margin is what actually lands in your pocket. And this is where many owners get surprised. A shop can look busy every Saturday and still only keep 8 to 15 cents of every dollar as real profit if the model and costs aren't controlled. This is also why add-ons in retail matter so much. A beard trim, a hot towel treatment, or a bottle of pomade can have much higher margins than the haircut itself. Shops that only sell haircuts leave a lot of money on the table. Shops that train their team to offer extras and sell product quietly increase their average ticket and their profit without needing more clients. So the real game isn't just getting people in the door. It's maximizing the revenue per chair, controlling the time that chair sits empty, and protecting as much of that revenue as possible after expenses. That's the basic money engine of this business. In the next part, we're going to look at the single biggest decision that changes how much of that engine you actually get to keep.
This is the most important part of the entire video. Everything we've talked about so far, startup costs, barbershop versus salon, pricing, utilization, all of it means very little if you get this next decision wrong. There are 2 completely different ways to run a barbershop or salon, and these 2 models create 2 completely different businesses. Model 1, the employee or commission model. In this setup, the barbers or stylists work for you. You either pay them an hourly wage, a commission, usually 50 to 60% of what they bring in, or a mix of both. You control the prices, the schedule, the products, the uniform, and the customer experience. The clients belong to the shop, not to the individual barber. This model gives you more control and a stronger brand, but it also means you carry the full weight of labor costs. When you add commissions, taxes, and benefits, labor often eats 45 to 55% of your revenue. After rent and other expenses, your net profit margin usually lands between 8% and 15%. It's a real business, but the owner's profit is thinner and the management stress is higher. Model 2, the booth rental or chair rental model. This is the model a lot of smart owners are using in 2026. Instead of employing barbers, you rent them the chair. They pay you a fixed weekly fee, typically $150 to $400 per chair, depending on your city and the quality of the shop. In return, they keep 100% of the money from their own clients. Your income becomes much more predictable. You don't worry as much about slow days because the rent is still due. Your payroll headaches drop dramatically,
And your net margins can jump to 25 to 45% because you're no longer giving away half of every haircut. A 4-chair shop using booth rental can generate strong income, even if the owner only works part-time behind the chair. Many owners keep 1 chair for themselves and rent the other 3 or 4. That combination, personal cutting income plus rental income, is one of the most profitable setups in the industry right now. Of course, booth rental isn't perfect. You have less control over the customer experience. If one barber is rude or inconsistent, it can still hurt your shop's reputation. You also have to be careful with the law. The IRS has strict rules about who counts as an independent contractor. If you start treating booth renters like employees, setting their hours, forcing uniforms, controlling how they work, you can get into serious trouble. Many successful shops use a hybrid approach: the owner and maybe one senior barber on commission and the rest on booth rental. This gives a balance of control and higher margins. So here's the hard truth. The employee model gives you more control, but less profit. The booth rental model gives you less control, but significantly more profit and less stress. In 2026, the owners making the best money are usually the ones who understood this difference early and built their shop around the model that actually fits their goals. This single decision will shape your income, your stress level, and your quality of life more than almost any other choice you make.
So, what does an owner actually take home in 2026? A solo barber working alone can usually clear $45,000 to $85,000 a year. A small 2 to 3 chair shop often lands between $55,000 and $110,000. A well-run 4 to 6 chair shop, especially with booth rental, can put $100,000 to $200,000 plus in the owner's pocket. But these numbers only happen when the shop is managed properly. In 2026, the biggest challenges are clear. Labor is expensive, and good barbers are hard to keep. Rent keeps rising in most cities. Clients expect easy online booking. If you're still only taking phone calls, you're losing business. No-shows still hurt if you don't take deposits or use proper software. And platforms can insert themselves between you and your customers if you're not careful. The shops that win right now do 3 things well. Keep rent under 15% of revenue. Run strong online booking to fill chairs and reduce no-shows. Choose the right labor model instead of just hiring people the old way. Add-ons, retail products, and simple memberships are also becoming quiet profit boosters. The money is still there in this business, but only for the owners who respect the numbers.
Here's the truth. Owning a barbershop or salon in 2026 can still make you good money, but only if you respect the numbers. Control your rent, fill your chairs, and choose the right model, especially booth rental if you want higher profit and less stress. Get those 3 things right, and this business can pay you well. Get them wrong, and it becomes just another stressful job. That's the real economics of owning a barbershop in 2026. Like, subscribe, watch next.